Welcome once again to Liberty Global Reports, live from our Kaduna studios once again. I am Arthur Brooks. Welcome to our viewers across Nigeria, and welcome to our viewers across West Africa, and welcome to our viewers watching us live on YouTube and Facebook, streaming of course. As usual, we have our old friend Professor Khalifa Dikwa in the studio. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
To give his worthy contribution to the program. As usual, we feature news stories which are trending globally across the world and across Nigeria. This week in England, once again, a short introduction to Brexit. Brexit is taking shape as Britain leaves the European Union, which is scheduled to be kicking off next year in March or something. But this week there's been a lot of heated discussion. Last week the Prime Minister, this is Theresa May, actually won a leadership tussle in which there was a vote of no confidence in her, which led to a leadership vote, which she safely won. The Labour leader, that's Mr Jeremy Corbyn, has tried to rally support for another vote of no confidence, but this cannot happen. Let's watch this short report from TV in UK.
The clock is ticking. With just 101 days to go until Brexit, and still no deal in place, Theresa May's senior ministers gathered this morning in Downing Street. On the agenda, the ramping up of no-deal preparations. Meanwhile, a date for your diary. After pulling the vote on her Brexit deal last week, Mrs May has announced plans to put her agreement before the House in mid-January.
We intend to return to the meaningful vote debate in the week commencing 7th of January and hold the vote the following week.
And an early Christmas present for Theresa May. The Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has tabled a motion of no confidence in the Prime Minister over the Brexit vote.
She has delayed the vote, postponed the vote, and now trying to prevent Parliament having a vote about whether to have a vote or not. This is a government that's running scared from its own Parliament.
But with Number 10 saying it won't schedule parliamentary time for the non-binding motion, the ball is very much back in Mr Corbyn's court, who must now decide whether to table a no-confidence motion in the government as a whole. Well, joining me to talk about this Brexit story again today is Shona Merrick. She is our Brussels correspondent here at Euronews. We've got James Crisp from The Telegraph, and Brian Maguire remains with us on the sofa. Shona, we saw the UK government meeting today to talk about no deal, what it means, the contingency plans. We're expecting to hear more from the EU tomorrow. What can we expect to hear from them?
Well, the EU has said before that they'll have some sort of transitory programme in place. So essentially, nothing like the transitional period where you'll have the customs union, single market, but just to ensure that, for example, planes maybe not be landed. The most extreme version of Brexit doesn't apply. And then when you hear in the UK, they're talking about 3,500 military personnel on the streets for possibly looting and possibly maybe border security, you can see that chaos will probably just be afoot.
Yeah, so, James, we've heard all these stories about what no deal will mean. Well, everything from not being able to get Mars bars in Britain through to, you know, as you say, troops on the ground, essentially, to potentially maintain the peace. I mean, would it really be that bad?
Well, I mean, if it was as bad as we're being told it's going to be, I mean, the only reason you'd have soldiers for border security would be to stop people leaving. I mean, look.
Well, that in itself, though, was a sign that it would be particularly bad for the UK.
Well, but there'd be some mass exodus down the Channel, and then you'd have those poor, unfortunate people in Calais being turfed out of their places. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but it isn't going to be good if it happens. I mean, no one should say that no deal is a good idea. The people who do, frankly, idiots, liars. I mean, it wouldn't be great.
Don't hold back, James.
There's a report from Global News in the UK. Prof, you had any comments about the ongoing Brexit?
Yes, exactly.
Ongoing saga.
It is a raw deal. It is a raw deal if Mrs. Theresa May walks out of EU without a deal.
Yeah.
So, and she's foot dragging the votes till January. In between, she'll be able to get something. And the real danger is that it is about the backstop. If
the Northern
Britain
Ireland,
decides to pull out of EU, and EU is making it very difficult so that other countries don't follow. And there is a possibility that Scotland, Republic of Ireland, and Northern Ireland,
could pull
and
out.
even Wales
Could pull out.
or give stringent
United
conditions to
Kingdom,
United
and then,
Kingdom, and that will weaken the power of the Queen.
Yeah.
So that is it.
It's a very serious
Very
situation.
serious.
I don't know
And
David Cameron started this.
Another referendum means
Yeah.
defeat of the of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
Conservative Party completely, because people were not informed prior to the first.
But there's a lot of people in UK who are even welcoming a hard Brexit.
Yes, hard Brexit.
They feel this is like a challenge to Britain to stand alone.
Who never enjoyed their life.
Yeah.
All their useful life was wasted looking for good jobs and so on, and now retirement age is approaching and the frustration is increasing, and therefore they decided to be narcissistic, i.e. let anything happen. After all, I've lost everything. That's it.
Okay, well, this is an ongoing thing, and we like to target Africa, and in Nigeria this last week we had a conference, or shall I say a conference, a meeting of the Lake Chad Commission, which Nigeria is one, also Cameroon,
Chad,
Niger, and Chad,
and even Central Africa,
even Sudan. So there was a meeting in Abuja, in which the president Buhari spoke. Please watch this short report from Channels News.
We'll begin with the declaration by the president that the time has come for the complete wiping off of Boko Haram from the entire Lake Chad Basin area. President Muhammadu Buhari said this during an extraordinary meeting of the heads of state and government of the Lake Chad Basin Commission in Abuja, where they renewed their commitment to put an end to the insurgency. This formed part of an 8-point communique agreed to and signed by the president and other leaders of the sub-region. Our State House correspondent, Ibrahim Adra, has the rest of the story.
Nigeria and its neighbors have borne the brunt of the Boko Haram insurgency for close to a decade. The Nigerian military has fought hard to tame the menace until the recent resurgence, the latest of which is the Metele attacks, which left many soldiers dead. On the heels of the attack, President Muhammadu Buhari called for a meeting of the leaders of the region in Chad Republic. One of the outcomes of the N'Djamena meeting is the setting up of a Defense and Security Committee. That committee turned in its report at this extraordinary meeting in Abuja. In attendance are the presidents of Chad, Niger, and the Prime Minister of Cameroon, amongst others.
Today's meeting,
President Buhari, who is the chairman of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, says it is a continuation of their joint effort to overhaul strategies towards stabilizing the region.
The time has come for the evil of Boko Haram to be brought to a definitive end. I am sure that this summit will take the right decisions in this regard. This is a fight to the finish. We must and we will, by the grace of God, wipe out terrorism from our sub-region. Our military strategy must be complemented by the mobilization and deployment of adequate resources to ensure the reconstruction, rehabilitation, and rebuilding of civil authority, as well as the provision of relief and succor for the affected.
The meeting considers the report and its recommendation. After about 3 hours of deliberation, a communique was read.
The heads of state and government renewed their commitment to the fight against Boko Haram terrorists with a view to bringing a definitive end to the insurgency. Reaffirmed their commitment to the accelerated implementation of the regional stabilization strategy in the areas of Lake Chad affected by the Boko Haram crisis, which was recently endorsed by the African Union Peace and Security Council.
The heads of state and government once again appealed to the international community to support their efforts in the fight against terrorism in the region. From Abuja, Ibrahim Adra, reporting for Channels Television News.
Yeah, that's the report from Channels News, and also this comes along with the recent revelation about the Nigerian soldiers killed in the Mateli ambush some weeks ago.
In the Mateli, yes.
So the situation is quite serious. And I also read a report yesterday that the economies of Chad, Cameroon, are also being seriously affected by this, the insurgency as well as, of course, Nigeria, who I think Nigeria is bearing the brunt. Prof, would you like to comment on this?
Exactly. This is something that I foresaw, and on my return from Europe as a student in the 80s, I had access to some classified documents about the conspiracy. It is about oil politics, and then some mineral resources in the northern part of the country, and that's it. Again, whatever, how you see these neighboring countries, particularly Niger, had been really close to Nigeria in terms of relations and so on, and brotherhood, because prior to the partition of Africa in 1884, we were together. And that it is not just about this president, it's not just about President Yusuf, it is not about just President Idris Deby Itno. It's not just about President Paul Biya or his own prime minister representing him. It is about a particular the colonial power that has a firm grip on those French, ex-French colonies, particularly France. That will not let. So as long as Nigeria does not come out of its shell to, first of all, the Minister of External Affairs and so on should call the attention of the Ambassador of France to talk to complain about with concrete evidence in the past, because those of us in Borno, we saw certain French planes dropping arms and food and so on, and that France will not let go, and it is possible even
dropping arms and troops.
Yes, even if France will not to the insurgents, and yes, in the past, and again, France has also.
But these are aren't they just conspiracy theories? Is there any?
It is real.
Any solid evidence?
The plan has been there since 70s, but waiting for the right time to execute it, because
for sure, I know,
When you close the Lake Chad region, automatically the economy of Kano and other places will also go, including. And in the first place, the foreign intelligence agencies created Boko Haram in the first place. So it is about France and other countries behind it, even if it means lodging a complaint to EU, United Nations, and that France
But
So-
the Nigerian government doesn't talk about.
No,
these conspiracy
I'm just
theories.
surprised that just President Buhari will always talk about the.
But
the,
on the issue,
president,
yeah, on the issue of
and
minerals,
not
I
the
know,
main actor.
I know from the early '80s they drilled, oil wells were drilled in the border areas.
Exactly.
Roads were built. I
Roads
know
were
a,
built.
a friend of mine
Yes.
was involved in the construction of
Exactly.
these serious roads
Serious roads.
to a wellhead.
But in the past,
If it was
Nigeria
just
wanted to
yeah,
build the road
so for
between
sure.
Gambarunga, a border town, to a part of northern Cameroon, for Furo Lami or Kusri.
Yeah.
And also do something like a bridge between Nigeria and Chad.
Yeah.
All the pressures came from particularly France, and it didn't work. And again, even the damming of the waters that usually flow into Lake Chad, because the damming were not all of them, all the dams were not essential, but it was about creating poverty and idleness and so on. And again, if you go there, you will also realize that the funding of the defense and security is very meager, and I don't know why President Buhari does not even query his own appointees. From 2015 to date, at the time when our military were able to decimate Boko Haram, we expected that Nigeria bought equipments and modern weapons more superior than those of the Boko Haram thing, but no release was forthcoming until today and so on, and nobody is punished for this. It means they have also infiltrated, and therefore I believe if the military, the police, and the DSS, our own secret service, cannot perform to the best of their ability because of the funding, and that they cannot complain, there is a problem, because this thing is about real conspiracy, because there are international NGOs that have paying rents for 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
That should be a question mark. Why are they paying for 10 to 15 years, up to 20? Are they invading, or they expect the insurgency to continue for 15 years? So it is about international politics, diplomacy must come in, and that President Buhari should stop just limiting his own speech to the presidents of the Northern Lake Chad membership. At anything short of including France, it will not work.
But is the are the military of the 3-4 surrounding countries, are they working together now?
They have their international force that General Bratter used to head in the Chadian capital in the past and so on. But France deliberately created a similar force with headquarters in Mali, just to distract particularly Chad. A Chad that knows how to handle asymmetric or unconventional warfare. So Chad is in Mali, Chad in Lake Chad region, and Chad and so on.
The French military had some apparent successes against ISIS.
ISIS and so on. And why is it that West Africa or African unity cannot come together and have their own force to intervene rather than allowing the conspiracy to continue? And believe me, Arthur Brooks, by virtue of all their own ideology, that bestial and intolerant and violent ideology was created by the intelligence and came to them through unsuspecting countries in the past. And that if care is not taken. When you see in Afghanistan, in other places, when elections are approaching, they intensify attacks and so on.
The trouble with all these conspiracy theories, we can never kind of get a handle on them. You can never actually.
You are right.
You're always seeing,
you are
like
right,
you're looking through mirrors.
It is not
you're not
possible
seeing
without
the
the cronies, without people within government. And imagine if it was possible. Imagine this is security is the most important thing, and then releases of funds appropriated by National Assembly were not released, and then the National Assembly cannot ask for the oversight, the report of the oversight. Why is it that they are not getting their money in good time, and it is whatever they get is little or nothing? As if their position in Abuja, as if they are safe in Abuja. This is about our own country. And then again, I'm not happy with the way federal government treats our military and security agencies. They are treating it with levity. These people, they are very good anywhere they go in the world. But why is it that they cannot perform the same thing in their own country?
We looked at
and as a
the
general,
history,
we expected him to now to restore the dignity of the military.
We looked at the history of the Nigerian army. Look at the history of the Nigerian military, going back even to the First World War, Second World War, the Burma War. Nigeria's always performed very
Lebanon and so on. Nigeria was always excelling. And that,
but then you talk about the conspiracy, and you talk about who's behind organizations like these insurgencies like Boko Haram. But every time I've seen these videos, so-called videos of Boko Haram, it looks very strangely well organized.
No, it is an organized crime now. They are well organized, they are well trained.
Even the way they present, even fully following all the rules of public relations,
and even they were even training imams. Who are not Muslim at all, imam, and call them al-Baghdadi, call this one imam, and so on. And they always go for somebody who is least educated in original Islam. Recently, the government of Donald Trump was asking Saudi Arabia to go back to original. And it was actually the curriculum of Egypt and so on, Saudi Arabia and so on, were changed from the early 80s when they had finished Iran with corruption and so on. They moved to Saudi Arabia, and this is what we are going through. The intolerance, the violent attitude of Boko Haram and so on were ideologies created by the foreign intelligence.
Well, I don't know if we ever get to the bottom of all these conspiracy theories, whether we ever see the facts, I guess, even if conspiracy theories are real, then very definitely the facts will be blurred anyway. It's all a game of its conjuring trick to keep everybody guessing. I guess
after broke, it is real. When the government is not serious about the defense and so on, government is just saving money for certain things without saving, taking care of the border lines and so on, without educating its people and so on, always moving things till another day. And until they are very good politicians, are very good at throwing controversial issues. The recent one is that they were suggesting that Nigeria goes back to parliamentary. My own suggestion is that Nigeria, it is not possible until with an elected government. It has to be an interim government, which is non-partisan at all. And that, again, Nigeria can lead the African country in designing its own democracy by picking the best practices, the best parts of the world democracies, and anchor them on the values of Nigeria. That is the best way rather than talking about parliamentary, presidential, and so on. They themselves are now confused. You see Brexit here, we have Trump here, we have France, we have Italy. They are all confused. Democracy is failing. Even the economy is failing.
Maybe
and therefore, it is better for Africa.
Maybe, Professor, this is all part of the big conspiracy plan.
Exactly. Prayers can sometimes work. Prayer works because It is now they are confused at home. And then prayer always works. Sometimes it doesn't come quickly, but it works. And that they themselves, if they themselves are confused, they don't know what to do with their own democracy. What are we talking about? The expensive presidential system of America, or the parliamentary system where executive and legislature are mixed. It doesn't work. Let us do our own. Fashion out our
Well, that's
own.
what we should do,
Yes.
Africa.
Yes, we
Africa
can pick from the presidential system of America the best parts. We can take from the British. We can take from
traditional,
African. We can take from China and so on. And then even say certain seats, let them be reserved for civil society organizations and elderly. And so on.
Elders,
again,
unfortunately,
it will be cheap.
Unfortunately,
just one chamber.
Fortunately, they're telling me we are out of town. Out of town, sorry, out of time.
Out of time. With perhaps two vice presidents. So that nobody attempts to backstab the president.
Prof,
and take over.
we have to close.
Yes.
Once again, we could go on talking all night, and I'd love to. So we have to thank Professor Dikwa once again for joining us, our regular contributor, to my cameraman in the studio, and to the control room, and to the global production team. And thank you again to viewers for watching us, and we invite you again next week, same time, to join us again. So thank you. Please keep watching Liberty Television and Global Reports. It's not just about the individual news item, it's all about what's behind the news story. What went on before, now and after. We report today not from Kaduna, Nigeria, but from Liverpool in the United Kingdom. Slavery Museum, that's right, in Liverpool. Dr. Benjamin.
No personal attack on candidates.
Okay, thank you very much. Ray TV Liverpool. I'm here with Chris Kerr, who is one of the team that runs this remarkable little station.
My background is that I'd spent quite a lot of time working for Bernardo Television as a reporter and producer, and I had lived in Liverpool for most of my life, and I've had a very strong interest in doing something in the way of more local television, more than the regional service which Bernardo and the BBC offer.
This is Arthur Brooks signing off from Liberty Global Reports, and have a very good week. Thank you, Saidu, for coming on the programme.
My pleasure.
And please check out our Facebook page.